Hi everyone, it's Nessie here. So I've had quite a few people on my flip throughs asking me if I'll show you how I made these accordion books. I've made quite a few of these and I really love making them, and so I'm going to attempt to show you how to make one. Hopefully I can explain it okay. So there's some things you need to take into consideration first. I make these out of a card base, so I use a base of a card, and it's just a normal craft card that I cut to size and ink. What you want to take into consideration is the sizing that you do. This one I didn't use a kit for it, so what I actually did, you'll probably see it here better, I kind of layered tissue paper on it, crumpled the tissue paper, glued it down, and then when it was dry I inked it and stamped on it, and then used those as my base cards. In the one I'm going to do today, I'm going to use a kit. So the kit I'm going to use is called Vintage Birds by Lucy Hinzel. I think it's Lucy Hinzel. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but I'll put a link in it to the description below. And it's called Vintage Birds. Now this is a great kit because, in my opinion, you get two types of kits. You get kits like these, which are amazing, and then you get kits like, say, this one, where you get a page divider down the center, and these are a bit more limiting. You basically can only stick to that size, whereas in a kit like this, where you don't have the page divider, you can do your pages as big as you like, and it's great for things like paper book albums and stuff like that, whereas these are a bit more limiting because you have this line, unless you cover that line, which I do sometimes with lace, but it's a bit more limiting. So when you're cutting your card, you want to do your card roughly to the size of your pages if you're doing in a kit. But what you've also got to take into consideration is if you're going to stitch them. Now this one I stitched around all of the pages. I tend to stitch on all of them. I did this one a bit too big, and how do I describe it? With your sewing machine, you have like your needle here and then the body of the machine's here. You have to take into consideration that that's got to go through that body gap. This one didn't, and I had to bend it up to feed it through, which is fine. You can bend it up to feed it through because you can flatten it out afterwards, but it does make it very hard and fiddly to do. So unless you're a confident sewer, I wouldn't do it. I would do your pages a lot smaller so that they fit through the body of your sewing machine. But then saying that, you don't have to sew it. You can just glue it and leave it. Some of you don't even have sewing machines, so you don't have to sew it at all. But that's what you need to take into consideration, is actually the size of your pages, your cards. I mean, I've seen people do these where they do them really long and thin, like TNs, which would be ideal. I never go for the easy option. Me personally, I like full-sized A5, roughly A-sized size journals. Now, what you basically need is 8 pieces of card like this. You don't have to do 8, you could do less, as long as you're doing more than 2, because if you only do 2, you're just doing a normal journal. You're not going to have that accordion look. You've got to do a minimum of, well, I suppose you could do 3, but I would say a minimum of 4. I wouldn't go more than 8, because if you go more than 8, it's just going to be just too bulky. So I like 8. So you need 8 pieces of card like this. Now I've cut mine to 8 inches by 5.5. I've done 6. I left one to show you, but I'm pretty sure you know how to cut card to size. So mine's 5.5. So that would be 5.5 by 8. 5.5 by 8. I do have a paper trimmer, but I'm not a big fan of paper trimmers. I don't find them very square at all, and I'm finding that I don't actually use it very often now. I tend to just use a quilt. I think these are called quilter blocks. I used to do quilting many years ago, and a craft knife. Sorry, 8.5 by 8. And then also you will find that I ink everything. Absolutely everything I do, it gets inked. So I'm using vintage photo distressed ink, and I'm just going to quickly, this is why I did 6 before, because I'm pretty sure you don't want to watch me sit here inking up 8 sheets of paper. I'll just do this one quickly. And I'm sure, like, these type of things, like the inking of paper and cutting to size, you know how to do. Do both sides on these. Now, I mean, like I say, if you're not going to use a kit, you can decorate these any way you want. You can cover it with just scrapbook paper if you want. Don't have to use a kit. You can collage on them. You can distress them. I don't know, you can just basically do whatever you want. For the Edith Holden one, I collaged with tissue paper and then just distressed and stamped on them. That's one. Let's just quickly do this one. But then you need to decide. So like I said, I'm using a kit. Now when I do these, I like to use quite a plain backing paper on these cards, and then decorate the cards with pockets and tuck spots and things. So I tend to look through the kit and see which are the more plainer pages and use the plainer pages. When you have a kit like this one, where it doesn't have the center page, I'll show you what I do. Just let me quickly do this. I usually spend a bit more time on inking. I'm not a fan of inking. Although I ink everything, I absolutely hate doing it. I find it quite repetitive. And I think I'm also quite heavy-handed with the inking. Okay, so there. Right, so with this kit, what I did was these pages, she didn't really have any, there's only one plain page in the kit, I think. So what I did was I took, oh, I haven't got any left in here, I don't think. Let me have a look. No, there are some pages where she would have birds on one side and then nothing on the other. And what I did was I just cropped them. So I basically would just crop it down and then make a full page out of the bits that didn't have birds in. Does that make sense to you? Giving me the plainer pages. So if you're going to use a kit like I am, you are going to need 16 pieces of card like this. not 16, 15. And I'll tell you why 15 is because on the front cover I don't do it straight away. I leave my front covers right to the end and do them last, so I leave that plain. So you're going to need 15 sheets like this. I haven't cut them all down. I will cut some down now. Now my white card I did 5.5 by 8, and I take 1/8 off. So what I would do with this is I would do 5.5. So let's take that white bit off first. So I'm going to do it 5 3/8, which is there. Put that bit aside. Take the end off of here. So 5 3/8 by 7 7/8, because I'm just taking 1/8 off, like so. So there's that one. I'll do another one out of this one. So I want it. I want to keep that corner flower. So let's take the white bit off. No, that's not going to be long enough. That's not going to be long enough. So we'll do this one. Just take the white edge off. So it's 5 3/8. Still got a little bit of a white on that, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to ink these anyway. 5 and then 7 7/8 is about there. And this one, hopefully we'll get one out of this. No, we're not going to. Okay, that's fine. So anyway, you're going to need 15 of these, 16 if you want to do the front cover. Let me just ink these up quickly. If I can find my blending mat. Sorry. There you go, I found it. I would use the same ink pad throughout the whole journal. I very rarely mix my pads unless I really need something a bit darker. Yeah. And the last one. I need a new sponge on this one because it's starting to have bits come off. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to be stitching mine. So because I stitch mine, I'm going to do the accordion in 2 halves. Because if you do, like, this is one I'm working on at the moment. This is a Christmas one. And as you can see, it's really long and quite bulky. Now, if you do it all in one go and you're stitching around this piece, you've got all this to feed under the sewing machine, and that's quite bulky and it makes the stitching very difficult. So what I do, or what I'm going to do with this one, is I'm going to do it in 2 halves and then join the 2 halves. Now what you need is your 8 sheets of card. You are going to need 7 strips of fabric. This fabric I'm using here is a curtain lining. I got some curtain samples and I cut all the linings off, and so I'm just using that. But you can use any fabric really. Like I say, on this Christmas one, I'm using a kind of, it is a curtain fabric to be honest, but it's a bit thicker. It's a tartan type. So yeah, any type of fabric should be fine, but you're going to need 7 strips. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our front cover and our back cover, and we're going to put 1 strip on each side. So just let me have a look. Okay, so we're going to take a strip here, just lie it down, place some glue on your card. And this is just a type of, it's just a fabric tack glue. Bit of glue, and then lay it down on your fabric. Don't cover all of it and don't quite go halfway, because we need to leave a gap in between our cards that we're going to sew our signatures in. These strips of fabric are about 2 inches wide, and then they're the length of your page, and then about 2 inches. So we're going to glue that one down there on that side, and then we're going to glue another one on this side here. And again, don't go all the halfway. Glue quite a bit of it down, but not all the way to the center, because we do need to leave a gap. And that's our front page and our back page. Now what you need to do is take 2 of your kit pages, or however you, scrapbook paper or whatever, actually 4 of them, and cover the front and the backs. So just let me close that up. So I mean, if you're doing a kit that's got images on that go a certain way, make sure you don't glue them upside down. You glue them all the right way up. So it's probably going to be quite a tedious video, because usually when I do my videos I do all of this beforehand, but I couldn't really do it with this one because I just didn't know how I could do it prepared but still show you. So I'm afraid you're going to be watching me glue down a lot of pieces of card. You see, this is why I do my back pages quite plain, because I don't have to worry about whether it's going on upside down or the wrong way round. So that one, that's the back cover. And then the front cover, I'm not going to cover that side, but I am going to cover the inside. My covers are always the last thing I do on a journal. I would also say, when you're considering how many pieces of card you're going to do, consider how many signatures it means you will have to sew in, because the more signatures you put in these books, the fiddlier they are to sew in. It's not the easiest to do. Right, now I would stitch around these. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to pause it while I do it because my machine won't fit under here and I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear it anyway. So I'm just going to pause it. Okay, so there, I've sewed round my ones. Now, I just want to add, I just done a straight stitch. Obviously you don't have to sew them. It does help reinforce your fabric, but you don't have to. And also, I'm not the greatest of sewers, I'm the first to admit it. Keeping a straight line is a nightmare for me. I go off the page, I go wonky, but I don't worry about it too much because they're junk journals and I kind of think it adds to it. So anyway, here we have our front cover, here we have our back cover that way. So now we are going to stick on the next page. So take some more glue. Generous. And then we are going to stick it on. Now you want to line it up as much as you can so that they're straight, and you want to leave roughly 1/4 of an inch, I would say, between the fabric pieces. Now you could measure it so they're identical, because that is not identical. As you can see, there is quite a little bit there and a big bit there. But because I'm covering mine, you're not going to see it anyway, and in all honesty it wouldn't bother me if they weren't identical, because like I say, to me the beauty of a junk journal is the fact that it's not perfect and it's fine. And then we are not going to cover those yet. What we're going to do now is take another strip of fabric, and how this one we laid underneath, this one we're going to lay on top. So it's under, over. Do you get what I mean? So we're going to put a bit of card. The way I would do it is turn it over, because it's easier to stick the glue to the fabric than it is to stick paper to fabric than fabric to paper. So I would turn it over, put some glue on my card, my bottle's getting low, I hope I don't run out, and then stick this on again, leave not quite to the center, and stick that on. So do you see how this one and then this one, so you're doing them opposite sides. So this one's under and this one is over. Then we are going to cover them. I actually wish I knew how you could speed up videos and things. I'm not very techno, and I'm not really videos are not my strong point at all, and I have no idea how people do all of that editing where they fast forward things and put letters on and notes. I'm going to do it this side because I want that flower on that side. Just lay it on, smooth it down. and do one on the back. Line that one up. I find it's easier to line it up on this side because you can't always see with the fabric, so if you just line it up on that side and then smooth it out. So that there is your first front, back. Now I've done that on the top there so that I could do a pocket there, so you can plan your pages. And then we are going to do that same for the back page. So we take the back page, make sure your fabric is on that side, take a white card and glue it down. Again, leave your 1/4 inch gap for your spot for your signature to go into. I mean, it doesn't have to be dead on 1/4 inch, you just need to leave a gap for a signature to be sewn into. And again, now this one is on the underside of our paper, so the next strip is now going to go on the top on this side. So like I say, I would turn it over, add your glue here, and glue it down, not all the way to the center, you've got to leave enough for a gap. And then we're going to cover the front and the backs again. Like so. And then turn it over and cover this side. There's a bit of a noisy car going past. A bit of glue. I'm going to do it this way. So everywhere where the fabric goes under is where you'll have a signature. Right, so that's that side. So that will go like that, giving you your back cover. But now I am going to stitch around these, so I'm going to pause it. Sorry, there's going to be a lot of pausing because I need to stitch it as I go. Okay, so that's those two done. I'm not going to do stitching of every page because that just take forever, but you kind of get the gist that when you've attached your card, if you're going to do stitching, do stitching. So here we have our front cover, and that's with our first 2 pages on. So that goes that way. Make sure you're always double checking that you've got it the right way up. So now we're going to stick our 3rd piece of card down on here. So you do it in the exact same way. It's very repetitive, but I kind of have to take you through every step so that I can show you how we join it at the beginning. So turn it over, because again this has got to go on the top side. Line it up, leaving your gap. Like so. So now can you see how we've got the fabric under the 2 pages here, over the 2 pages here? And now we need to add the next strip. So it's under, over. You can fold that in now because it's easier to work on this side folded over. So over, and the next strip is going to go under. So you've got under, over, under, like so. So then we're going to stick this side down. Add your glue. Stick that down on an underside. And then we're going to cover these 2. So I'm going to cover the 2 sides of this card. Line it up. And then we're going to cover this side. Side. Right, so that's our front cover. So we now have that way, and then that goes under that way. So can you see now that you've got 3, you're kind of starting to get your concertina of the accordion. I mean, you can stop at 3 if you want to. It will give you a signature here and a signature here, but I wouldn't stop at 3 personally, but it's all preference. So we're going to do the same for the back section. So this is our back section, back cover, next page. So we're going to glue a piece of card to this piece now, and again it's got to go under. So I'm going to turn it over, add my glue, don't forget to leave your signature gap. And then that goes that way. So you've got under, over, and yeah, our next strip of fabric is going to go under on this one. So it's going under here. So let's put some glue on. I'm sure I'm making this sound a lot more complicated than it is, but it really is very simple. And once you actually sit down to do it, I'm sure you'll see that I'm probably not explaining it in the greatest way. I'm not brilliant at tutorials, like I say. This is all very new to me and I get very nervous. So we now have a strip of fabric under, strip of fabric over, and a strip of fabric under, and now we're going to cover the front and the back of that card. I think I'll do it that way. But please do take care on your pages if you're doing a kit to make sure, take the time to make sure you're doing it the right way up and how you want it to go. So that's that side. Like when I cover the back side, because I flip it like that, the top then goes at the bottom. So on this side, I have to remember that that is the top of the page, because I flipped it. And then what you also, let me show you with the, just let me get this glue on and then I'll show you. Okay, so when I turn this back over, this is going to be the top of my page. So ordinarily, I would glue the pattern to the top because I would decorate with a pocket or something at the bottom. But this one, I'm going to put the flower at the bottom because on this page, I can then put a top tuck spot and have a decoration at the bottom. So this is what I mean by take the time to think about how you're placing these pages. I mean, if you're just using plain paper or music paper or something like that, then it doesn't really matter. You can just do it any way you want, or if you're just using a patterned paper, that's fine. Now, I would now, well, you will, I'm not going to, but you would now sew these two pages. Keeping in mind that you now got this to go under your sewing machine, and the more pages we add, the more you're going to have to go under. Now, I'm not going to pause it and do it because I can sew mine when it's all in one piece, so I'm just going to go ahead and go to the next stage. But if it's you, you would sew it now, and then you would have this. So you've got your front cover, next page, that bit goes under. So now we're going to glue a section to a piece of card to here, and this one's an under piece, so that's fine. Let's glue that down. This is card number 4, so we're going to glue that down, keeping your gap for your signature. Doesn't have to be dead on, doesn't have to be perfect. So there. So I'm going to say it again, under, over, under, which means now here we're going to do an over piece, an over strip here. Now I'm going to turn it over because, like I say, it's easier to glue it that way for me. And then we're going to glue that there. And then again, we're going to cover the front and back of these pages. Again, this is going to be the top of my page, so I think I'm going to do it this way. Take a lot of time to push it down where the fabric is. I mean, if you're sewing it, it doesn't matter because the fabric anchors it, but if you're not going to sew it, make sure you really stick it well to the fabric. Turn it over. No, don't want to stick that on there. This one. And I just think I'll do that one like so. So there's our front piece. So that folds like that, and then that'll fold like that. So there is our first 4 pieces. Now, like I say, you can just stop there. You would have 1, 2, 3 signatures. You would open it like that to the back cover. If you're going to leave it there, don't add that strip, obviously. Open it like that, and then like that. Now, we're going to go on because I'm doing 8 strips. So here's our back cover, which goes like that. Oh, it's just started to rain. And we're now going to stick our last piece of card onto here. So this is an underpiece. So we can just stick it straight on. Oh, dropped my glue. Don't forget to leave your gap for your signature, and that will just glue on there. Okay, now we now have 4 pieces here, and we have 4 pieces here. So now we're going to join the 2 pieces. So we're not going to add a separate strip on this one. What we're going to do is join them. So this piece will go on here. Do you get what I mean? So we then have our 8 strips. So because it's an over piece, I'm going to turn it over to attach it because it's easier for me to do it that way. Just let me take that out. Move it over. I'm trying to get it all in. So yeah, I'm going to attach that to there. Oh, I've got to walk up to the school in a minute and it's just started to rain. It is just sod's law for me. There, we're going to attach that to there, and then we're going to cover both sides of this one. However, I've only got 1 cut piece. I need to cut another piece out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this bit on, and then I'm going to pause it while I cut another piece out and glue it on. It's suddenly gotten very dark in here as well, so I'm hoping you can still see all right. Running out of glue. So let's stick this one on this way. If you also remember that all the under ones are where the signatures are, so you can take that into consideration when you're doing your pages as well. Like, I don't want that next to a signature, I want it on the edge of the page. So stuck that one down, and then I will cover that one, and then you sew these 2 pages. Now that's the difficult bit, because when you sew this page, you're going to have this on one side and this on the other side, so it can be quite fiddly and quite tricky, and it will be the same when you sew that page. You're going to have that on under the machine and that hanging down, and it can be quite tricky. It is quite fiddly, but I like to do the sewing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it. I will stick another piece on there and sew round them and come back and show you it. But that is pretty much your accordion journal there. So what you now do is find your front cover, which is here, and then you fold it. So front cover, then it goes under, over, under, over, under, over, and you get your 8 pages, and then it opens 1, 2, this would be sewn, sewn, there's your back cover, sewn, sewn, back to your front cover. So I'm just going to pause it, do those finishing touches, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, so yeah, I've done mine. So I've now stitched through all of mine and covered it all, and you should end up with a long strip like that of 8 pieces all glued together with the fabric spines going under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Yeah, and then you concertina it up. Front cover goes that way, then under, under, like so, there. So you've got like that on one side and like that on another. So now you're going to put, you would decorate, you could do it how you want, obviously. You could put your signatures in first and then decorate it, but personally I then decorate all of these pages. I tend to put pockets or tuck spots or something on each of the 16, 15 sides, and then I would add a signature. So I don't have any signatures made up yet, but you would put a signature in there, you would sew a signature in there, you would put one in there, one in there, and then you would turn it over and you would do the same for each of these. You would put one in there, one in there, one in there. Now that is the basis of your accordion journal. I wasn't going to show you how I decorate the pages, but if you want me to do it in a series where I show you what I would put on the pages and how I use the kit and decorate them, then just leave a comment and let me know. I don't want to do it if you don't want to see it, if you get what I mean. But if you want to see it, then fine, I don't mind doing it. I'm away this weekend, so I wouldn't start it till next week. So yeah, just let me know. I really hope that you managed to follow that and it wasn't too confusing for you and complicated, and the video is not too long. But anyway, let me know what you think. Please do comment. I love to hear your feedback, especially on these type of videos, because I still get so nervous doing these. So yeah, I'd love to know your views. So please do comment, subscribe, share, like, all the usual. And let me know if you want to see how I do the pages. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.